So hello again, everyone. My name is Erica Mills and I work at Clio as the Content Marketing Manager for EMEA. I'm delighted to be bringing you today's session, which is the 6th installment in the How to Grow a Law Firm series. This series has been running throughout 2022 and will run for the remainder of the year, so be sure to keep an eye on your inbox for details of future events. To give you a little background on the How to Grow a Law Firm series, it's a Clio series wherein we feature firms who are growing and scaling in unique ways and finding new and inspiring ways of working. For each session, we not only feature a unique legal business, but we also hone in on a specific theme so that others can learn and think about their approach to growth as well. For today's session, I am delighted to be joined by Liane, Atcheson and Paula Crowther from the multi-award-winning Tenet Law to talk about the incredible law firm culture they've implemented, as well as tips, tricks and thoughts on how firms can replicate what they've achieved. And Tenet are joining us on another incredible week for the firm. Just last night, the team were named Boutique Law Firm of the Year for 2022 at the Legal Business Awards. So congratulations to you both.
Thank you. It was quite a night. It was unexpected, but always great to receive this award.
And well deserved. Yeah, if you look in the background, you can see that Paula has the lovely shiny award behind her. So to let you know about Tenet and about our speakers. So Tenet was founded in 2016 by Aaron Showen, and it's an award-winning disputes and compliance law firm specializing in fraud and financial crime. Based in Birmingham, Tenet is the only niche law firm in its field outside of London. Growing through recommendations over the past 6 years, Tenet has utilized cloud-based technology and modern working practices to deliver simple, cost-effective, accessible solutions for clients and a genuine work-life balance for its people. Since 2016, Tenet has operated with no financial or chargeable hour targets for fee earners, which is incredible, and never had the traditional 9 to 5 working hours. Tenet is a team of 11 with 9 solicitors, all of whom have a minimum of 5 years national and international law firm experience, delivering specialist advice to both UK and global clients. Tenet's culture is based on trust, people, and purpose ahead of profit. And this unique approach has led to Tenet being recognised and winning multiple national awards, not just the one last night, for innovation in legal services. So on to our 2 wonderful speakers joining us from Tenet today. First, we have Liane Atcheson, who is a fraud and litigation solicitor focused on helping individuals and businesses prevent, detect and respond to fraud and dishonesty. Liane has a, straight talking, outcome orientated approach, understanding that whatever the nature of the fraud and whatever its scales, fraud impacts us all differently. Liane works with individuals right through to multi-million pound companies, both in the UK and abroad, across a wide variety of industries with a diverse exposure to differing types of fraud and litigation issues. And joining us from the marketing side of the house is Tenet's Head of Marketing, Paula Crowther. Paula is a marketing and business development professional with over 15 years in the professional services industry, including holding positions at both an international accountancy firm and a national law firm. Paula supports Tenet by raising awareness of fraud through educational campaigns and knowledge sharing, bringing content to life, and I love this, proving that legal doesn't equal boring. With a demonstrated history of running national campaigns, brand collaborations, and large-scale events, Paula specialises in strategic planning, digital marketing, client engagement, and lead generation. So Paula and Liane, thank you for joining us today. One sec, sorry. Just before we get into our main topic today, I want to mention a couple of things as housekeeping. So this session will be 45 minutes, which means we'll get you out before 12 noon BST and IST for anyone joining us in the UK and Ireland, which means you can start your lunch early. We will be recording this session and we will send everyone who's registered a link to the recording tomorrow. And we want lots of Q&A and commentary. So please make sure to use the chat function to chat with your fellow attendees and the Q&A function to ask questions that you would like to ask the Tenet team or myself. And it's always a good idea to include who the question is for. So just a little about Clio for those who are joining us for the first time. As mentioned, I work at Clio and Clio is on a mission to transform the legal experience for all. And this series is really part of that mission. Being the market leader for legal technology means that we have an added responsibility to set the tone for the next generation and to help ensure that the technology shaping legal experiences is also serving the greater good. So by providing a platform for our community to tell their stories of growth and innovation, we are hopeful others will be inspired and together we will make that mission a reality. So when it comes to Clio, what Clio does in terms of our product, I'm going to say that we are not going to go into a lot of detail on Clio today, but we're going to launch a poll for those interested in learning more. My colleague Geraldine is going to launch that now. The options on that poll for those of you who are new to Clio. Clio has two main solutions. Clio Manage, our core practice management solution, offering you everything you need for practice management in the cloud on any device, whether you are a Mac or Windows user. There's also a downloadable app for Android phones and for the iPhone. Key features with Clio Manage include time recording, unlimited document storage, e-signatures, a client portal, billing, and of course, matter management. Our second solution is Clio Grow. This software helps law firms by automating the client intake process. So that's helping firms with that very early stage of managing a potential client. With Clio Grow CRM software, you will be able to engage and retain new clients in a matter of moments. You can connect it to your website for online intake forms and your calendar for scheduling and much more too. Together, the Clio Manage and Clio Grow solution are known as Clio Suite. However, Clio Manage comes as a separate package too. Now, some of you may be using one or both softwares already, so simply let us know that in the poll. And that's about as far as we'll be going today in regards to what Clio offers. So for those who are interested in learning more, whether that be a little or a lot, please let us know via this poll. So without further ado, we are moving on to our main discussion for today, which is creating a winning law firm culture. So law firm culture is a topic I've personally been hearing more and more about in recent years, especially in light of the pandemic, ways of working, the Great Resignation trend, and the general well-being of the legal profession. But culture can have a huge bearing on whether staff stay or leave a law firm and how well they can deal with the stresses that sometimes come with working in the profession. It actually also has a surprising effect on how effectively your firm operates and how many clients you're able to bring in and retain. So I'm gonna start with my questions to Liane and Paula in a moment, but before we do, I'm gonna launch another poll, this one a little bit different. So this one's around the audience's perception about your law firm culture. So you'll see that there are 5 answers there. The question is, how happy are you with your law firm's current culture? So very happy, I feel we have a great way of working. Reasonably happy, it's not perfect, but works well most of the time. Not very happy, there are a lot of things I would like to change. Very unhappy, I dislike my firm's culture. And not sure, that options, sometimes it depends on the day, I think. So yeah, just curious to guess everybody's opinion on how they're doing things. And I will also say that we will not be sharing your individual responses anywhere. So if you have a colleague or a boss who's on the call, don't worry, they're not going to be able to see what you answer to this. So the results are, excuse me, very happy. We have 14%. Reasonably happy, which is great to see, is the majority. That's 57%. Not very happy, it's a good chunk, it's 16%. Very unhappy, 4%. And then not sure, we have 8%. So yeah, it's good to see where everybody's heads at. It's great to see that everyone's well, the majority are reasonably happy, but of course there's always more that we can do to improve on our culture. It's always a work in progress. So with that, I'm going to jump into the questions with Paula and Liane today. I'm going to say, when looking to devise a webinar on this topic, Tenet to me were the obvious choice. So Clio has been working with Tenet for several years now, and one thing that has always been apparent to me is how happy the Tenet team are and how well they work together. So Paula and Liane, I'd like to bring you in now to tell us more about your story and about the winning law firm culture Tenet has created. So my first question, I think I'm going to ask this Liane or Paula. So I'm sure a lot of the people on this call are familiar with Tenet Law and your amazing growth story, but for anyone who isn't familiar with your firm, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started and how you've grown?
Sure. So Tenet was founded in 2016 by Aaron Chauhan. He was a partner at DWF, and he had become really interested in Simon Sinek, who I think a lot of you will have heard of, and he's really big about your why. So finding out, why is it, for Aaron, why is it he's practicing in law? Why is it he has a particular interest in fraud? What is it he wants to achieve from his career? And it was really looking at his why that became one of the central foundations for building this law firm. And Aaron realised when he moved away from the large law firm and started working for himself, were how many other lawyers were out there that had large law firm experience, but perhaps the culture of the large law firms didn't work for them. They knew that they were passionate about client delivery. They knew they wanted to focus on being the best lawyer that they could be and creating really good work for their clients. But sometimes the balance between being the best lawyer you can be and, for me, being the best mum you can be at home didn't always work very well. So he began this journey really focusing very much on his work in fraud, but making sure that everybody could deliver, focusing on the client, not focusing on how many hours they have on the clock or what their billing target was going to be.
So quite an unusual approach from the start, and a very purposeful approach. And I think from what you told me before, the prevailing idea of it was that happy lawyers equals happy clients. So that kind of leads me into a question for Paula. So that happy lawyers, happy clients, that's one part of it, but why does law firm culture matter? So I know for a lot of people, they think it's a nice to have. In an ideal world, we'd have a great culture, but for Tenet, it's central to how your team operates. And like, why is that?
It's because we truly believe in it. It was set up and it was started from the very beginning, and the foundations of what we're built on. And we truly believe in our culture, that it works for us. It's ultimately about how we make people feel. And like you said, people and purpose before profit results in happier clients. And I think if we look back at why maybe it's not a focus for a lot of firms, or as you said, a nice to have, it's likely because the return is a lot longer with culture. You know, the focus with a lot of firms are, where can I see my return on investment? Where can I get the profit in? A lot of lawyers are looking at the metrics and KPIs. So culture can be seen as this fluffy extra thing that firms have, or that they fit in, like it could be a campaign, or is it something that they focus on for a little while or don't pick up and over long periods of time. So because Tenet, we've really built that foundation and we started early on, we're now seeing the rewards of that. We're seeing the loyal clients, we're seeing the happy staff, and we're getting our message out and really building that narrative a lot across every decision that we make in our business. And every business has a culture as well. Whether you decide to feed into it and make it positive, or you decide to just like be whatever it ends up internally or externally, you will find you've got a culture. So it's important to try and nourish it and make it as positive as possible, really.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, that a lot of people think that you have to create a culture, but even if you don't do anything, a culture will create itself. So being purposeful about it is, I personally think, very, very important, and it's definitely worth consideration. I'm going to ask Liane, so your sister with working in some of the UK's largest law firms, how does your experience with Tenet Law and its culture differ from working in those firms?
I think we're really aware of our culture, and you know, you've summed it up really nicely, which is people and the product and what we do before profit. And that is front and centre of every single decision that we make as a business for the business and as lawyers for our clients. And so the difference here at Tenet is every single time those values are core to decisions we make, how we operate internally with each other and how we operate for our clients. I think larger law firms, they talk about culture a lot, but perhaps it's a byproduct of being a larger law firm. Living and breathing that culture at ground level can be really difficult. Something we seem to have got right here.
And have done it right from the start, which I think is important to start out as you mean to go on. And
it's factored in, I think, with the growth of the team as well. So over the course of the last 6 years, we have grown to a team of 13, and whether that recruitment has been for another solicitor or whether the recruitment has been for one of our support staff, we have always tried to grow really organically and to take time to find somebody who will fit into our tribe, as we call ourselves. We work as a pack, and you know, we hunt as a pack when we go off out litigating. And so it's really, really important to us when we're recruiting, not just to get a bum on seat, and no matter you know, how desperately we need somebody to help carry the load of extra work we've got in, we would rather wait and find the right person who share those core values and core beliefs, because then them joining the culture, it falls so naturally to them, and they will be happy. If they are happy, they will continue to create great products and great work for the clients. The clients will continue to be happy, and ultimately the lawyers will stay for longer, which is why we have a very, very, very good retention rate here at Tenet.
There's something I want to pick up with you that you mentioned when we've talked before. So Tenet does something that I find very unusual. I haven't heard of a lot of firms doing it. So how you structure your work, how you operate on a lateral structure, I'm right to say. Could you talk a little bit more about that? Because I think people might find that surprising.
Yeah, it's certainly the first law firm I've come across where our team structure is completely lateral. So if anybody cared to look on our website, you will find we don't carry titles, we don't have a hierarchy. We are a team, we all contribute equally. We all do jobs of equal importance to make sure that every person in this team is supported so that they can deliver the best work product they can for the clients. Nobody is more important than anybody else. I have been known to be at the photocopier at 2 o'clock in the morning and putting my own court bundles together with other members of the team. And the lateral structure, it strips away any internal competition. So people's focus then isn't on looking upwards as to, where is my next step? Where am I going? It allows a lot more inward reflection about, what do I need to be a better lawyer? What do I need to do to be a better colleague and a better source of support? What can I do to improve the work for my clients or improve my own knowledge base? I think having that lateral structure really allows for that.
And it also, from what you've told me, I think provides a better experience for the clients as well.
The clients really respect it because for them, they know that anyone that they talk to in the team carries an equal weight and an equal responsibility for their case. So when we take a client on, that client might be appointed 2 or 3 lawyers here that work on that case, and we all contribute equally. There is, no person here who would be able to say that they add more value to a case than another person, which means that clients can call at any time, whether it's myself they're speaking to, whether it's Aaron they're speaking to, whether it's another one of my colleagues. Each one of us knows about that case. Each one of us can support that client's journey and let them know what's happening or where things are going next. The feedback we've had from clients about that has been really positive.
Thanks. And I've got a question for Paula in a moment, but I'm gonna just follow up on that a little. From the sounds of it, that also helps with the challenges around presenteeism and in ensuring that all of the firm staff can maintain a good work-life balance.
Yeah, I think a move away from presenteeism is something that's been really important in the culture that we've built up in order to make sure that people in this firm are happy. We don't have a traditional 9 to 5 working day. People are trusted. Ultimately, if you step back and look at the legal profession, we are one of the most trusted professions in society. Yet, bizarrely, what you found, certainly until lockdown, was lots of law firms, for some reason, wouldn't trust their professionals to be able to go away, work from home, do their job and get it done to a really good standard. And we decided that there has to be a better way to deliver it. So taking away presenteeism, allowing people the freedom and the flexibility to work hours that suit them, allows them to be happier. And what that looks like really at ground level for me, my core hours will be 9 to 3 while my children are at school. I will often break between 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. to deal with the things that I do as a mum, picking up from school and taking children off to clubs and activities. And I choose to log on again once my children are in bed, and I'll work again another couple of hours in the evening. There is no judgment from anybody in the team. If I send someone in the team an email at 10 p.m, I have no expectation that they have to be present and replying to that email. They can reply to me during whatever working hours suit them, because the focus is on making sure that the job gets done by the deadlines that we've set the clients or the court deadlines. And the idea that somebody has to be there 24/7 just because it suits me is actually quite frowned upon here. If you're on holiday and your out of office is on, go away, relax, be on holiday, be out of office. You will get no brownie points here for replying to emails while you should be sitting on the beach drinking cocktails. And that culture to allow people to be people outside of work, hopefully keeps us all happy. The happier we are, the better we're working, the better we're working, the better the products, the better the products, the better the clients. So it's focusing really on the right things and what is central to your own culture. And that's what it is for us.
And from sounds things and the awards, you keep racking up. I think it's working. But that leads me into a question for Paula. Now, Liane has covered a bit of this, I think, but can you outline some of the other practices and ways of working that contribute to your law firm culture?
Yeah, so as Emily, I'm the same. We've never had 9 to 5 flexible hours, and that was pre-pandemic. That was from 2016 when we set out. It's a case of agreeing what work we need to do to get the right results to the client, around the hours that suit the team and meeting all of them expectations and deadlines. Along with that, we don't have any billable hours targets, KPIs, financial targets individually, but as a firm, there's no massive 5-year plan where everyone's fighting internally to get ahead for partners or certain roles. As Liane mentioned, we work completely with a lateral structure. So that, again, because of them targets, it gives us that focus on the client rather than thinking, I'm not, if I'm not going to get billed for this, or I've got to focus on hours or feeling all that extra noise, all the extra pressure that a lot of lawyers find. We don't have that. So it's a case of work as a team, get the job done, find a solution. Also from a marketing perspective, it gives the team more of that freedom to support me as business development and marketing, because it's just as important. We tell the team culture is just as important. It's not all about going out and winning new work and being profitable. It is about what do you enjoy. There will be some of the team that want to do a lot of BD, others that want to just work on something else. But it really creates that what do you want out of your role? Helping others, going out spreading our news, and that's what we want as a firm. We want people to go out and share that narrative of not just how we are internally and what that culture reflects, but also externally to the audience. And it also links in with our aim to reduce fraud as well, because we want to educate people about the fraud and the risk. So it works well for us that we take action as well as have an idea of culture, because without action then not much gets done. But yeah, the people first approach definitely working so far.
Yeah, working fantastically. Couple of great comments in here from audience members. So one from Dave Hassel. It's a Henry Ford quote: a business absolutely devoted to service will have only one worry about profits. They will be embarrassingly large. And that seems to align with the Tenet approach. And one from Tandiwe Khan. It is refreshing to see a trend focusing on positive and practical working culture, especially in law firms. Breaking the historical reputation of uptight survival of the fittest has been off-putting for most considering a career in law. And I've seen in my experience, the competition, the heavy workload has been a barrier for some people. But from your perspective in the traditional law firm, and it's a question for both of you, what are some of the less positive, we'll say, ways of working that could be changed?
I think the positivity for us is just this is our culture and we do what works for us. It's important that we decide on that people before profit, and we want to work like that. It's not going to be the same in every single law firm, and other people's cultures are going to be different. I think the positivity, we recruit people that want to have a good work-life balance, and they align with that. So we find that for us it works. We get, you know, parents or people that are just wanting to work around the children or in a specific area of law, and that works with all, that works for us. So looking at maybe more negative sides, what one person's positives can be another person's negatives.
True. Yeah. Yeah. And I suppose there has to be a culture for every type of person.
I think some of it comes back to your own individual journey and what is your personal why. So for some lawyers, they might feel that they have only achieved being a really great lawyer if they become partner at Magic Circle law firm. And that's okay if that's their personal journey and that's their why. But I think the best thing that somebody can do as early on in their journey as possible is to figure out what that they want out of their journey and find a firm that fits with that culture and shares their values, because they're most likely to be happiest if they're working in a firm where the culture fits. And as Paula touched upon, just because this is our culture and our values and our beliefs, it doesn't have to be the same everywhere. You know, we don't go out advocating that just because this is how we do things, it is the right way and everybody else must do it. More so, we just want to share with people that it's okay if your culture isn't the same as the law firm culture next door, that do what you do, believe in how you want to do it, make it front and center of everything that you do and follow it through. And hopefully that will allow you to bring people on board that share your values and share that culture to allow you to build it up and to your own law firm forward.
And that leads me into another question. So I think this is a good time for this topic, partly due to the trends that people may have heard about of the Great Resignation, which is particularly affecting law firms. So for anyone who's not familiar with the term, it relates to a trend many are seeing of legal staff leaving law firms in search of better conditions and increasingly better work-life balance. And even amidst that trend, Tenet is continuing to grow. You've added 2 new starters in recent times. So what are your thoughts on the trend, and do you think your firm's culture is helping with your retention?
Yes, certainly. I can speak on my personal experience joining the firm just under 2 years ago. I remember getting approached, hearing about Tenet and looking on the website and thinking, sounds excellent, sounds like the exact place anybody would wish to work. Sign me up, you know, if that's how it is. But also coming from a marketing background, I also have this slight thing of authenticity. You know, when you get in there, is that actually, you know, what it is like? You can work whatever hours you want as long as it's around X, Y, and Z. So yeah, I was skeptical as a new starter, and it's strange to think that coming from a big law firm background and a national law firm, that you just can't comprehend it. Like working on various different levels, but being in the team and really understanding each other. Even though we work all, I mean, I joined during the pandemic, so I never met a lot of, you know, my colleagues. Even though we work so far apart, and a lot of our communication is over Teams, it really does have that sense of, you know, people first, we're better together, we've got this shared purpose, and we really just pull each other through the positives and, you know, things when things go wrong. It does feel like that inside. So I think, although it can kind of sound quite fluffy or, you know, really as a marketing speech, when you are meet us and you meet the team, we really do. It is like that internally. So I think, who wouldn't want to join a firm and stay with a firm that has a real purpose and believes in what we're doing to make a difference? So I think that does help us keep staff and retain our staff and recruit new ones. Also our model and how we work, we're not restricted by location. We can recruit everywhere. We also have the fundamentals, and because we've been working so long from home and flexibly, we have everything in place to manage our clients effectively. So we've got no boundaries on location. And I think things are changing now. A lot of employees, they are looking at their team, their employees, and thinking it's not all about pay, it's not all about job role. I want someone who really believes in me, or I want someone who can, I've got a career progression, or I want to develop X, Y, and Z skills, and they want to be heard. And I think that is definitely something that we're seeing from the pandemic, but also with the well-being. They've got more choice now. So I think we're one step ahead when it comes to that. Something that we need to keep up. It's a great culture, but we can't let things slide. We've got to keep working on it. But I think a lot of firms need to really consider that profit imposition is not the only sort of carrot that they can dangle anymore. People do want a bigger package and more offering from their employer.
Yeah. Liane, have you any thoughts on us?
Yeah, I think it was really interesting for us when we came into the pandemic. And I often joke with Paula that we should have this tagline of working from home since 2016, because prior to the pandemic, we'd already been working from home, and we were all set up like this for 4 years beforehand. And it was interesting over the course of the pandemic to watch, I think, a shift in culture across a lot of law firms to allowing many more of their staff at all levels of the business work from home. And I hear from many colleagues who are still in large law firms about the swathes of floor space that's being given up because more and more of their staff are choosing to work from home, which in my eyes is a great thing, and certainly something that will help with work-life balance and hopefully tackling this great resignation, as you call it. But I would like to see across the industry, and whether this will happen or not, I don't know, is more people shifting their constant focus, as Paula calls it, this noise about how many hours have you put on the clock, how much have you billed this month.
Yeah.
Will you only get your bonus if you have achieved your billing target for that year, or you've exceeded your billing target by X amount. And so I still think that culturally, for me, is still leagues ahead of where many of the larger law firms are. But it is great that more of them at least are allowing, home working, and there is an improvement there in work-life balance. So hopefully it will allow, the law to retain more really talented people.
You touched on something in that I think a lot of people may be listening and maybe too polite to say, but saying, this all sounds lovely, it's really nice to have a good culture, but what's the financial cost is for an industry that can often be very focused on billable hours or on margins or on fees. Is there a cost to doing business in this way?
I think I can probably answer that pretty quickly. No, we still work on the same pieces of litigation as all of the law firms work on. We're not a free service. Of course, we still charge our clients for the work that we do. The work still gets done. It just gets done in a more flexible way, in a more supportive environment, in an environment where, our competition is our opponent. Our competition is not internal. I'm not competing with my colleagues for bonuses. I'm not competing with my colleagues to get more hours on the clock. The only people I'm competing with are my opponents on cases. So I would struggle genuinely to say that there is any cost, certainly in terms of financial cost to doing work in this way. It's just a different way of achieving the same result.
And I suppose, as you can see, Tenet is still growing, so it's working.
Yeah, so far so good.
And statistically, if you look at any sort of employee report, employee satisfaction, if you've got people who are engaged in what they do because they are, trying to be the best they can be, they're not rushing and panicking on the school run because they're going to miss a 9 o'clock deadline and the boss is going to be at the door. And if they are happier and engaged at home and enjoying their work life, then they're going to put their focus more into work. And then when they're in work, if that focus is not on trying to make partner or trying to build so much financially, they're going to just focus on the solution to the client, which is then in turn going to make the client happier. So they're going to pay, which makes us more profitable. So yeah, it does all join along in the end. And statistics on any sort of employee engagement will tell you that, and we're just kind of really focused on that as a firm.
Mm-hmm. Great. And I might get to a few audience questions is now in a couple of moments, but one thing I did want to highlight is that your team is, from the beginning, has been great advocates for using technology to help both with the operation of your firm and with maintaining your culture. Can you talk a little bit about how you use technology and what has been the benefit to you?
Yeah, Paula,
yeah, so we we obviously needed cloud-based technology. And back in 2016, obviously we were trying to look at what we can put in place to make sure all of our team can work effectively from home, from their laptops, from their mobile devices. And you know, we work with Clio. It's not only just quite functional, and Liane's probably better to discuss this than me on how we implement that on a case-by-case basis. But for us as a firm, we wanted you know, to work with Clio in a sense of their technology does what we need, but also helps us build a relationship with Clio and grows as a business, and that growth aligns with where we want to be. And it's been successful, and the technology is important to us from a protection, fraud, cybersecurity element as well, which it just ticks all the boxes for us. But yeah, Liane will probably be able to speak a bit more as how that's implemented on a client basis.
I think one of the earlier questions you asked, I think, was about the difference in culture between being at Tenet and being at a larger law firm, and technology and the Clio system that we use is really feeds into the difference for me, because we've set quite low permissions within Clio, so any members of our team are able to access the data and to see how many clients we have, to see how many hours have been worked on a case, what work rates have been set for a case, and that transparency is there because there is no need for secret in our. It's not a secret how many hours I work. Nobody's going to judge me if I worked, half as many hours as the colleague sitting at the desk next to me. But the functionality and the transparency of that we actually find really helpful in terms of prediction of costs when we're setting budgets for our clients. So for example, if I get a particular application in that I'm defending and I know that Aaron worked on a similar matter 5 years ago, I can go back to that case on Clio and I can have a look at how many hours did it take Aaron to deal with it, what were the approximate costs for that phase of work. So the transparency that's there and available really allows me and the rest of the team to help be more accurate with the client when it comes to things like billing and predictions for their costs. So it's been really, really helpful, I think, whereas in larger firms, whilst perhaps sometimes the technology might be there, whether the permissions are set so high that nobody's ever allowed to know this secret information, I'm not sure what it is, but for me, that openness and the transparency of that technology has been key to delivering a good service.
It's incredible. We have a lot of really good questions in. I'm afraid we won't get to all of them, sadly. But I'm going to pick 3 just to ask the both of you, and whoever would like to answer it can answer it. And yeah, if anyone has any follow-up questions, they can feel free to email me after. It's erica.mills@clio.com. That's erica.mills@clio.com, and we can hopefully address it in an email or in additional content. But one I'm going to start with from Hugh. So Hugh, I hope I pronounced that correctly. I like your ethos. It's not dissimilar to ours, but there must be an owner. How do you square that with your owners and managers? So how do you square that with your lateral theory? And that's a question for Paula.
It works well. We obviously have specialist skill sets for each of the lawyers, and also we have different capacity when jobs come in. So it could be a case of looking at who is best suited to work on that. specific case. It could be who has got the most capacity that can take the lead, that can have that one-to-one relationship with the client. But in essence, we will all work across the team on different cases, and we will all chip in, help out, whether that be when someone's on holiday or we need some else advice. So yeah, there is probably a leader in a business relationship, but there is not that internal fight or struggle between the team.
Okay. Thank you for that. It's maybe a challenging question, but it's a great question from Robert. Do you believe the current culture of your firm can survive as the firm gets larger and the pressure increases?
It will get harder for sure. It's going to get harder. You know, it all sounds great and we're all dead happy, but there is times, you know, it's about communication. There is times where we are ringing each other up, you know, going, we're stressed, just like anyone else in any other firm, but it is that we are in it together mentality. So, you know, the bigger we get, the more people, it will be hard to have that one-on-one communication. We probably will need to implement more structure in that communication. I mean, we are quite flexible. We have team meetings. We really focus on that communication. And if a firm grows and a firm gets bigger, processes get in place and it can kind of disjoint it. But I think we've got a really good foundation. We do have this positivity that we've had from day one. So if we can drag that through and pull it through, I think we'll be all right. But certainly agree, it will get tougher. It will definitely get tougher.
But from my perspective of it, the culture has evolved with Tenet. It hasn't been a set it and forget it kind of thing.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. And this is another challenging but very good question from Oliver. How do you measure examples, for example, where values may not be met or delivered? Are employees and clients regularly interviewed, or how do you approach, how do you assess the value that you're getting from employees and giving to clients?
I think there's probably two angles to that. So in terms of how we measure what we're doing and whether we're doing it right, is the client happy and is the client paying the bill? Ultimately, if we are delivering a really great product and a really great service, the client is happy and the client pays. Yes, at the end of the case, generally Paula will speak to the client and try to get some feedback, maybe get testimonials from them about things that we've done well, and of course we take feedback about things that we haven't done so well. And you know, it's litigation and it's a difficult area to work in, and things don't always go as the client had hoped, and that's part and parcel of the work that we do. Whether we have got that, whether we've got it right, tends to be about whether we've managed the client's expectations properly. And these are the same struggles that you will have in any law firm. But when I log off at the end of a long day, am I still motivated to log back on the next day? Is my colleague not able to sleep at night because she is so stressed out? You know, that would not be, you know, living our culture and doing our job correctly. Being motivated and being ready to get up and go again the next day, that tells me that we've done something right, even if the case has been tricky to deal with during the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just conscious that we've just running over time. Apologies if anyone needs to drop off. We will send you a recording after this, but I'm going to ask you one final question. Sorry, I'm going to ask you both. He is a very Irish expression. I'm going to ask you both, what is next for Tenet generally, and for the future of the firm and your culture, do you think?
So where do we go from here? I think for us, it's about continuing to have our firm recognised as challenging the way that law firms operate and the way that law firms do business, and staying true to ourselves, staying true to our beliefs. We often have conversations, are we going to grow anymore? We're just at the perfect size, and before we know it, we've got another couple of members of the team and we grow a bit more. So I think keeping stock of what it is we want to achieve, you know, what our purpose is, what we want to deliver to the fraud and litigation arena, keeping that front and centre of everything we do, keeping our people happy, putting our clients first. Hopefully it will allow us to continue to grow organically. Hopefully it will see us get a few more awards and continue to be recognised. That would be nice.
Yeah, you're racking them up at an impressive rate now. Okay, so I could talk to you both for another couple of hours, but I'm conscious that people have jobs to do also, and I must let you get back to us. So I'm gonna say a sincere thank you to both Paula and Liane for joining us today and sharing their wealth of knowledge. It's been absolutely amazing. I'd also like to mention a quick chat to my colleague Geraldine, who you usually see on these sessions, who has been helping with the chat. Thank you very much, Geraldine. And finally, thank you to all of you for joining today. As we know, a legal practitioner schedule is a hectic one, so making time for our webinars like today's is not only essential, but also appreciated. I'm gonna follow up with one more slide. Just before we close out our session today, I'd like to let you know about a couple of events that you might be interested. So Clio is buzzing at this time of year in the lead up to our Clio Cloud conference, which you may have heard of as ClioCon for short. It's an incredible event that draws in legal professionals from all over the globe for knowledge sharing, legal insights, networking, and just a lot of fun besides that. So if you're based in London or can be in the area on October 10th, I highly recommend you book your seat at our ClioCon London events. This is the first event of its kind that we've ever run, which is very exciting. So during that, we'll be live streaming our CEO, Jack Newton's keynote speech right into the Everyman Boutique Cinema, which is a gorgeous venue. And for those of you who won't be in London at the time, we're also running ClioCon virtually over its 2-day run. So if you want to get the latest on thought leadership, legal tech insights and trends, and so much more besides, that will help your law firm grow in 2022 and beyond, I recommend you book a virtual ticket. And if you buy now, you get an extra one free for a colleague, team member, or friend, so you can make yourself very popular. The details are on the screen now, and my colleague Geraldine will also pop them into the chat. And finally, if you would like to have your firm or legal business featured in a future session of How to Grow a Law Firm, or you want us to share your story, you can get in touch with Geraldine at geraldine.o'reilly@clio.com with your growth story. So once again, thank you to everyone for joining. Liane and Paula, it's been an absolute pleasure, and congratulations so much again.